And let's talk about Kyle Rittenhouse specifically. He took the stand in his own defense. What's your assessment of how he did and how what impact that had on?
Now this is going to be completely honest.
Yeah.
You can tell because he made Binger look like a fucking idiot. So Binger's obviously not gonna mention that.
I'm looking forward to this answer.
On the trial.
You know, I've never in my life, and I've done over 100 jury trials. Not all defendants testify, obviously, but I've never seen a defendant testify and then be cross-examined and there's no redirect. They got him off the stand as quickly as they could because they knew
because you sucked. That's why there was nothing to fix. You were terrible. You had. Let me tell you something. If you're in his shoes, okay, as a prosecuting attorney, you basically have a little book of questions you would love to ask Kyle if he stupidly takes the stand and waives his Fifth Amendment. And
Right.
when he heard Kyle was taking the stand, it's like you could tell he got his little wood rising up and he's like, Judge, I need 5 minutes here so I can go get that book of like the fantasy book I never thought I'd get to whip out here, and now I can just whip and just be fully loaded, locked and ready to go to ask him questions. And that book was awful. It was terrible. It was almost as if he just made him look more and more sympathetic. Well, why were you rushing to the fire?
I know.
I mean, so many terrible, awful questions. It exposed him as being a hack DA, and he's sitting there saying, "Whatever, let him go. Let's give us more.
Well, no,
Tell us more of your insight."
Doesn't it say that if they don't ask him any more questions after Binger is done, doesn't that basically say that Binger scored 0 hits? Because aren't they going in there doing damage control after Binger?
Right. Only if they felt they had to fix something that, like, look, he just said something that was really damning. Right. So we want to fix that up. But clearly there was no concern, and they were right for not being concerned about it. I mean, look, his best question is, wait a second, don't you play Call of Duty? Don't you play Call of Duty?
I know. I know.
It's like the jury's gonna be like, oh, he's one of those Call of Duty players. Yes. Oh, obviously he was trying to like relive that in real life. He was playing Squid Game right there.
Right. His defense attorney should have stood up and said, "Is it true that 4 doors do mean more whores? Tell me honestly." It's like, okay, no, we don't need to do that. We're done. We rest.
Get him off as quickly as possible. Maybe next time try to ask him something damning.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God, he looks. Oh, when he was asking like about what weapons the person had, like, is it true that he had a skateboard? Oh no, wait, he did have a skateboard. Is it true that he didn't have a mace? Is it true that he didn't have a longsword? Is it true that he didn't have a chainsaw?
Yeah, that was what he.
Is it true that he didn't have a knife?
Every witness.
I know.
That was the best thing. So wait,
like,
so he didn't have a gun,
fuck?
Right? He didn't have a bat, right? He didn't have a chain, right? He didn't have mace, right? He didn't have a crossbow.
I know. It's like,
right? He didn't have one of those slappy things you can hit someone in the face with.
He didn't have nunchucks. He didn't have a fly swatter.
Right? Okay, yeah, that was what I was looking for. Thank you.
It's like fuck. Oh, it's like fuck. He looks so ridiculous the whole time.
Isn't it true that Gage didn't have anything but a gun pointed at your face?
No,
it was.
I mean, he had no other weapons, right?
Oh, he did say that, didn't he?
He said something like that. Yeah.
What a moron! What a moron!
And then it's going to break down, and after 5 or 6 hours on the stand, it's not going to last. So they had a calculated strategy here. You know, they spent months, I'm sure, and money and time with whoever's out there helping to prep him for trial.
Look at Binger.
And we just walked in there that day. Didn't even know trial was that day. They had months. We had nothing. What were we supposed to do?
I know. Oh yeah, the spin. But Binger's basically implying that, you know, defendants don't deserve to have all this money. Come on. It's so difficult for me to wrongly convict people when they're actually loaded. Damn it.
I think on his direct examination, I think he did a nice job. You know, he he did what they asked him to do. He came across, he looked presentable. He told his side of the story. He had his day in court. There was a time in which he started breaking down and crying, which I thought was unconvincing. I thought,
oh my God. Oh my God. Binger takes the fake crier route.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
What a dick.
that it was prompted by his own selfish fear, or what he claimed to be his fear at that time, which I think is a less than sympathetic prompt for crying. I think the tears were manufactured crocodile tears, and I think the jury saw right through them. And
if the jury saw right through them, why did they? It doesn't.
Yeah,
make
why
a lot
did
of
he
sense.
not guilty for everything?
Yeah.
there was no remorse for anything. He was unapologetic, no concern.
Dude, listen, if you're attacking me and I blow your head off, I'm not going to feel a lot of remorse over that. Where's the remorse come in here?
Well, and I think it's not even, I think Kyle did feel remorse, and that's why he was crying. He was crying because he had to kill someone. But
I think he did. Yeah, you're right. I think he did feel remorse.
But and Binger knows this. Part of the defense is he has to maintain a position that, you know, he had to do what he did. So it's very dishonest for him to like weasel word this, like as if Kyle could have gone on stand and said, "Oh, I regret so much what I did." It's like, that kind of hurts your case.
It does giantly hurt your case. Yeah.
About the lives that he took, none of that. And, you know, I get it. You got to walk a fine line in a self-defense case. You can't be saying I'm legally justified, but I feel bad that I killed those people. So, you know, I get that.
He basically says that. But the thing is, this interview is taking place after Kyle Rittenhouse has done all of these interviews. And maybe he's not watching all of these interviews, but Kyle Rittenhouse has expressed remorse in the subsequent interviews after he's been found.
He said he wished he never went there.
Yeah. Yes.
On cross, I did my best. I don't take a ton amount of pride in it. I think I could have done better. I tried my best to knock some holes in it. I think that I view cross-examination as if you had a block of marble in front of you and you've got to sculpt something. You can't take a sledgehammer and hit it in the middle and crack it in half. You got to go at it from the sides. You got to chip away inch by inch, part by part, and eventually you get something that you're looking for here. So I tried to chip away where I could at portions of the story that didn't make sense. And I think that I got him to admit some important things. You know, one of the parts of this case that was always going to be a concern was before the defendant shot and killed Joseph Rosenbaum, there was a gunshot that went off about 2.5 seconds before that in that very same area. It was shot off by a third party by the name of Joshua Zeminski, who was tangentially related to the case throughout. And in their opening statements, there was some emphasis on this, that Rittenhouse felt, you know, that shot was a danger to him. He heard it from behind him, so he's turning and reacting. And, you know, for all I know, it's coming from this guy who's chasing me, and now I got to kill him because I think he's got a gun. And that was a concern I had, was they were going to lean heavily into that. I'm prosecuting Joshua Zeminski for arson. I got a trial against him at the end of January. I think he's a knucklehead. I have no idea why he fired that single shot off. Certainly didn't help situation.
This guy who's starting fires at a riot, pointing guns at people and firing into the air. But he's just a knucklehead.
I know. I love that. I love that. Kyle Rittenhouse, you know, murderer, like Zeminski, knuckle. Yes. Yeah, murderer, vigilante. Yeah. The framing here is just fucking epic.
What a weird term. What a weird term from this.
Knucklehead. I use knucklehead all the time. It is totally not offensive.
I was very concerned about what they were going to use that to try and justify the self-defense. But what I got Mr. Rittenhouse to admit on the witness stand is that shot had nothing to do with any of this. He didn't pay any attention to it. He didn't think it came from Rosenbaum, didn't think it had anything to do with anything, which I thought was an important concession, because now we're clearly just talking about an unarmed man who's chasing after you. You know, and Rosenbaum jumps in the air with his hands up in the midst of all this. So it's clear that this is an unarmed person, you know, and I know some states like Florida.
Dude, that hands up thing was so quick. Mm-hmm. I mean, I didn't even catch it until someone pointed it out to me. I mean, Kyle Rittenhouse turns around for a microsecond
then it doesn't even matter because it's not like Rosenbaum stops and puts his hands up and just stops.
No.
He starts to like do something, and then the second Kyle turns back around, he continues chasing him.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Have stand your
That's kind of Kyle.
Rosenbaum actually put his hands up.
Yeah, in the
She's right.
middle of
Well-
the run, Kyle Rittenhouse turns around for like a microsecond, points the gun, and Rosenbaum puts his hands up, and they have kind of this moment of like, okay, is he going to stop? And then Rittenhouse
Well,
is like,
even
okay,
that,
he's
I don't
not
even
gonna
know
stop.
I don't even know if because like literally it's less than a second.
I
It's when
know.
Zeminski fires a warning shot, Kyle turns around, his gun's aimed at Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum kind of jumps and
He does
looks
like a-
like he's like starting to put his hands either out or up. They're like halfway. And then in like a quarter of a second, Kyle turns around and keeps running, and then Rosenbaum continues.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, he's talking like he put his hands up, stopped, and Kyle Rittenhouse turned around
shot
and
him.
stopped.
Yeah.
See,
But
I
that didn't
think
happen.
if you ask me, I think Rosenbaum thought that tells me that he was sort of playing red light, green light with
Yes.
with
He
Rittenhouse.
was.
He figured
He was.
figured I can get him while his back is turned and tackle him. That's
Yeah.
basically, and that if he has his back turned, I'll charge up at him and I'll go get him.
Red light,
Right.
green light is the perfect example of what it was. It totally was a red light, green light. He was like, well, if he's not going to shoot me, then I can get the gun away from him. He thought he wouldn't shoot him. That's what he thought.
So that's not a guy on a suicide mission. That's a guy who might not care about dime. That's clearly
Right.
supporting that. It's not a suicide mission.
Right.
Suicide, he would never put his hands up at all.
Well, and didn't he, or he was at least testified as Rosenbaum saying, like, you're not going to do shit.
yeah,
Chase
totally.
after him. So yeah, he obviously thought he could grab the gun away from him.
Yeah.
ground laws where anybody who comes at you, you get to kill them, but not in Wisconsin. And I equated it in my closing to a bar fight. Unfortunately, we got a lot of bars in Wisconsin. We like our beer, and there's bar fights, right? Two unarmed guys, they're throwing punches or whatever. Well, God forbid, the next bar fight, some drunk idiot comes at you, pushes you, shoves you, takes a swing at you, and now I get to pull out my semi-automatic pistol and kill him in cold blood. And that's essentially what.
Yeah, I know. Is it wrong of me to think that if some motherfucker cold cocks me, I can shoot him?
Yeah, this is a weird example because if I'm at a bar and I'm just sitting and minding my own business, and someone starts attacking me, fuck yeah, I should be justified.
Yeah,
to
I
pull the gun and
know.
shoot them. Like, this
It
is a
seems
terrible
like
example.
in Wisconsin you can do that, though. It seems like they don't have a. Yeah, it seems like that's
I don't
legal.
know.
Well, it depends on which side of the political. If you're black, then it's okay.
Oh my god, that's terrible, Joe.
That's
Oh,
what he's
that's awful.
saying. That's what he's saying.
I know.
Yeah,
That's
He's the one who
basically
called
what
it a
he's saying.
political trial.
Yeah,
That's true. That's true.
it's true.
was going on here, and that's essentially what the jury said was okay. And I can't abide by that. That's going to lead to tragedy if that's the message people take from this.
Dude.
This is
I know. His message
is
is like take a
delusional.
beating.
This is
That was the stupidest. That was like when you knew they were Hail Mary. When Krauss is up there, it's like we all take a beating sometimes.
I know, exactly.
I was like, that's what you come back with? Really? That's what you're trying to sell to the jury? That he should have taken a beating and when holding a gun? That he's just that's what his duty was there. We all take a beating sometime. We all have our lunch money taken from us. That's what Fat Boy Krauss was trying to say. Yeah,
I can't imagine being on the jury and thinking, like, I have to take a beating? Like, what the fuck are you talking about,
When
dude?
he said that, you know what I was thinking? I said, you know who doesn't have to take a beating? People who have a gun.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm very curious if Binger was pleased with Krauss's closing or not, or when he's like, "What the fuck were you doing up there?"
Oh God, wouldn't you like to hear that?
I
that
would love to be the fly
conversation?
in the wall. Yeah, for that.
Yeah, I doubt they asked him that.
Oh,
Right,
no,
and
he doesn't
I
have
think there was some testimony from others that saw this Rosenbaum operating before that he, appeared obviously a little bit off, and others were just avoiding him. They, walked the other way, and that kind of diffused it. And Rittenhouse obviously chose not to.
He's running
He
away
ran
from
the other
guy.
way.
What are you talking about? This guy who's interviewing him has no clue.
He didn't watch the trial. He didn't watch
He didn't
the
even
trial.
watch the 1 minute. You know, if I'm going to be interviewing, you know, the DA and the subject matter, I would watch like the 2-minute video of the case or of the incident before I talk to him.
You don't
I
have
know what I'm
time
talking
for
about.
that. You've already watched Joy Reid, Sitch. You already know the situation going into this. You got your daughter's dance hall recital to get to. You don't have time to
Right.
do the research. You let Joy Reid do the research for you on MSNBC.
Oh my God.